Would you ride the duck with me?
Oh, 100%. Let's go. I'd like to welcome to the Love and Reality podcast from Love is Blind Season 7, Mr. Nick Dorka. How are you, man?
Doing great, man. Blessed to be healthy and alive. How about yourself?
Yeah, same, man. We got to chat a little bit ahead of the show being released. It was all but, 5 or 6 minutes, you and Tyler together, and it was a good chat, and we've been meaning to catch up since then. So I'm excited to have a chat with you today, man.
Likewise, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, so let's rewind just a little bit. Tell the audience a little bit more about Nick and his upbringing, maybe life before Love is Blind.
Yeah, my life growing up was fantastic. I was super fortunate and blessed to have fantastic parents who are still happily married today, and they kind of everything they have in life they've kind of worked towards, right? And so at a young age, they kind of instilled those values on me, and let me know that everything in life is attainable if you work hard and do things the right way. So, you know athletic background growing up before the show. My dream was to, play football in the NFL. And so when I was played a little bit pro, was an All-American kicker punter at William and Mary. And when I was 25, 26, I transitioned into real estate. And fast forward kind of 4 years to now, and started my own team earlier this year, and it's been great. A lot of people reaching out from the show, which has been really cool to see. And that's why I like real estate. It's interactive. Every kind of transaction or people you meet is different. And so I like the fact that I get to help people out with one of the biggest decisions of their life. And man, just trying to stay, within myself with everything that's going on. But it's been a lot of fun. I can't lie.
One of the things where you navigate and you watch you on the show, and we'll dive a little bit more into that, but it was funny to me watching some of the show and like the backlash. Oh man, Nick lives with his parents. And I'm like, people I think took that so blown out of proportion, right? Because it's like if you have the opportunity to get to get back on your feet, and somebody that has like a stepson that was kind of in that not the same age, but like a little bit older, it's like, hey, you can come back in the house, get your shit together almost. You know what I mean? Get your life together and be able to get back on your feet. That was more of the situation, right, than what some people kind of try to make the situation, right?
Sure, for sure. It's like I was really lucky that my parents had a great place for me to stay where I was working in the area of my business, and I got to save money and live in a great spot and have my mom's home cooked meals. I mean, like, so a lot of people aren't fortunate enough to kind of have that situation. So whether they have to kind of work at an earlier age, whatever, but my parents let me live out my dream. And I'm super fortunate for that. Super fortunate for the opportunity I got and the support system I have. And, now I have my own place in Tyson's, and, a lot can be taken out of context, as you know, from that show. But it never really bothered me, what people thought. I was cool with it. I loved it.
Let's talk about how did you get approached to be on Love is Blind, and what was that process like, and what was going through your head of like, all right, let's go ahead and do this.
Yeah, so they slid in my DMs. And so I got a DM and I was a little hesitant at first. I didn't know what to expect. So I kind of was like, hey, can I talk to your boss? Right. So had that conversation. And then, 12 interviews later and 5, 6 months later from when they reached out is when they told us we were going to be on the show. It's like 10 days before they fly us out to the pods in Hollywood. So they keep you guessing, right? They keep you on edge. It's always kind of you're on the outside looking in, just stay ready. So I never thought I was really going to actually be on until 10 days before. And this was an opportunity that I couldn't really pass up on, right? It's so unique, it's so different. There's so many positives that go into that experience. And I just would have hated to look back when I was 35, 40 and been like, man, what if? What if I would have taken that chance on love or myself? And I'm someone who's kind of a go-getter and a risk taker, right? So I like making myself uncomfortable, and I think the show did that a little bit. So couldn't pass up on that, man.
Yeah, were you familiar with the show prior to going on?
Yeah, yeah, I'd seen, I think there were 6 seasons before me. I'd seen five.
Yeah. And I mean, if
So
you
I,
see the show and it's like it's different from like season one, right? When you cast it, like, people are casting for season one, you're like, this sounds like dumb. But when you see people actually get married on the show, it kind of gives you that extra hope, right?
that validation that you need. And, one thing to remember is it's an experiment, right? A lot of experiments don't work. You test kind of like a hypothesis and, this kind of retro engineered dating, how it is today, where you have to get to know the person first. And so, yeah, I mean, you'd be dumb to go in there thinking, oh man, I'm going to find a wife. A lot of things have to fall in place. And so it's a really unique process, but a lot of fun.
It's kind of going through your minds. You get there, your first step into those pods, and you're like, this is actually happening. I know what's going through your mind frame as you're getting ready to have that first conversation.
It was a feeling I hadn't felt since making a kick in football, right? Or attempting a kick in football. You get nervous, right? But it's a good nervous. It's like, hey, I'm good. I'm prepared for this, right? But I felt that same feeling in my stomach. I was like, oh man, I haven't felt this in a while, and it was a good feeling. It was like, if you get nervous about those things, it means you care. It means it holds value to yourself, and so. I hopped in the pods and I did a quick one of these and I said, let's go, man. Put the seatbelt on. I'm like, let's go.
Let's enjoy the ride, right? And
Right,
and basically
exactly.
as you navigate those early stages, did you find yourself kind of getting more and more comfortable with the experiment?
I was comfortable from the jump. I'm not even gonna lie. A lot of people, it was tough, whether they were a little nervous about talking to the rest of the world on camera, getting filmed all the time. Um, I was, it didn't change me, right? So like from the first point to the last scene we filmed, um, it was like I was really cool with every situation they put me in, kind of having a bunch of cameras, being asked questions like this. I kind of knew what to expect, and it didn't really take me outside of my comfort zone.
As you're starting to navigate and you're starting to maybe knock some people off the list and maybe move things to the list, what's it kind of like? And we saw this with you, obviously, as you know, kind of in a love triangle or and here and there. What's it kind of like realizing and kind of finding out that you're the person you're talking to is, and then you're also in this living quarters with these individuals who is talking to you.
Yeah.
What's that whole process and mind frame for you like?
Yeah, so my mind frame was, look, you're not here to make guy friends. Even though I was cool with everybody, even the women, everybody was fantastic, but I was here to find a wife, right? I was here to try and find someone who I could potentially be with long term. And so, there's a lot going on. And so you kind of have to narrow your focus and be like, hey, like, you guys both started off dating 15 people, right? Like, it is crazy, but continue to just be yourself, man. Continue to just be 10 toes, be solid, and be the dude you are, and it's going to work out. So, I just try to use that perspective and, kind of let the other things fall where they may um, and just keep an open mind, to be honest.
Yeah, it seemed like that, and your personality for sure comes off as that. It's more of a like a go with the flow, go with the vibes type of thing. And I think that's what a lot of people at home watching kind of related to Nick himself on the screen. Obviously, weird to talk about you in the third person as I'm talking about you, but
Yeah, for sure.
but what was it kind of about Hannah that made you kind of turn your attention and be like, all right, this is the girl that I'm going to pursue?
It was a couple things. I mean, the energy every time I walked in the pods, I kind of knew it was her, right? Like it was just a feeling, an energy. It's like, as soon as she said something, I was kind of just hooked. And that's what that point in the pods is about. It's about finding someone to match your energy and, just vibe and connect with and have an organic conversation. But it was always fun, right? And then towards the end, we started, you know, peeling back layers and like getting more into the deep stuff. And, the what I find interesting about the whole experiment is the first step is kind of the pods, right? Getting to know someone sight unseen. And then the second step is physically being with someone. And can you guys physically vibe your routines, living with someone? And that's kind of the part where I guess we struggled or had a disconnect because, I felt like she changed up a little bit from how she was in the pods. You can see that after the Halloween party, she's like, yeah, I'm just not having as much fun anymore. And her parents were kind of like, why aren't you having fun? You're not smiling as much. And I was kind of the opposite. I was like, living in the moment and just being myself. And so, um, there was a lot of qualities about Hannah that attracted her to me, but I didn't go in there kind of having a set person I was looking for. I just kept an open mind, and if it kind of led to that point where I got down on one knee and proposed, it did.
So obviously there's been 7 seasons. There's a lot of misconceptions about a lot of things that go on throughout the show that everybody speculates. But what's one of the misconceptions about the pod that maybe you've seen people talk about, or maybe that you kind of discovered for yourself that kind of shocked you or anything like that?
I would say one thing that surprised me is the length of time that we're actually in the pods. We were supposed to be at the studio at the pods where we were filming at 8 a.m. Right? So you got to wake up at 6:30, shower, breakfast, get ready. So you're waking up at 6:30, and then if you have night dates, those go till 1, 2 a.m. And then you're not back in your room until 3. So you could see a lot of us have bags under our eyes. Our eyes are kind of like, look, we're sleep deprived, malnourished, but like it's just a lot going into one. And so I didn't realize that, you really spend those 2 weeks in the pods, like in the guys' lounge. Um, there's no phones or no music, no computers. So you're literally just I found myself writing and diarying more than I ever have. And so I think one thing was kind of just the length of time and how many hours you spend in the pods and immersed in the situation and thinking about these other women. And sometimes you can overthink, but that's part of the process. You really get engaged with where you are.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I've slowly begun to realize is watching the pods, and people are always like, well, how do these people drop the love bomb? And I'm like, you are kind of going on like 700 dates in like 2 weeks, right? And that's kind of, were you kind of surprised with how emotional you kind of connected with individuals and how deep some of the conversations ended up being for you?
100%. I would say after the second or third conversation with each person, it got deep, right? And so one thing people might not realize is like, on the show, it kind of shows just me talking to Hannah. I had two or three other really strong connections that they didn't show. And so, there were other people who were talking to people pretty late in that process too. So, the first episode, as a viewer, you're like, how are these people saying they're in love already? But each day you talk to less women. Each day the conversations get longer. By the last week, you're talking to people for 5 hours a day. So it's literally like the high school days where you're on the phone with your razor, your chocolate phone, and you're just in your room talking for 3 hours. And so I think that's the part that's cool is like you break down your walls really quickly and you kind of make yourself, at least I did, make myself uncomfortable to kind of get comfortable and learn a lot about these women. And if you want to do this experiment and this process to its, fullest, you've got to be open, you've got to be transparent, you got to talk about the hard stuff.
We see you, connect obviously and get engaged with Hannah, and then of course the conversations with Katie and stuff like that. Who are some of the other women in the pod that you kind of connected with in that process?
Yeah, so it was Hannah, Katie, Marissa, and Taylor. Those were kind of like my top four. So I was talking to Taylor, I think, up until almost the last day. Marissa, one day until the last day. Katie, the same thing. So um, it's kind of funny because everyone other than Hannah was kind of like Nick. You're my dark horse, right? Like I have someone who I'm good with and it feels comfortable, but like there's something about me that intrigues you. And I think that's kind of what you're looking for is like, I don't want someone to make me feel comfortable necessarily. I want someone to kind of make me think and bring out a different side of me and have me wonder. Like that curiosity, I think, is what's really cool about this situation. So those were kind of like the four matches and people that I talked to the most for sure.
Yeah, because this, I mean, it is an experiment, but it's also getting you out of your comfort zone. This is the goal is for you to quote unquote get engaged to somebody that maybe not might not be somebody that you walk into the bar. I mean, it's one of the most common questions that you see in the next phase of the process of like, well, would you have, is this your typical type or X, Y, and Z? And so the reveal goes good. We get to we get to the island, you guys are vibing, and of course we have the I like to call it the international duck incident heard around the world.
I like it.
Did it?
I like
I was
it.
like, just get on a t-shirt, you know what I mean, and just
What the
you
duck,
ride
right? What the
with the
duck.
duck, you know what I mean. So, was did it shock you that it kind of turned out as a kind of aggressive as it did? And was there something maybe we didn't see? Because obviously we see a small tidbit of what
Mhm.
kind of transpired there that we didn't see that kind of was through that whole filming aspect of that specific incident.
Yeah, it was a harmless situation. And something that was funny is like that night, all the couples got together and we had a party. And the guys are coming up to me like, Nick, what did you do earlier? Like on the and I'm like, dude, I don't think I did anything. And I'm like trying to remember. I'm like, I think I'm and they're all like, yeah, man, you gotta be like more mature and hold yourself like you're here for Hannah. And I'm thinking to myself, what did I do? Like, I didn't do anything bad. And so the situation came across on TV exactly how it happened. And that was kind of like the first kind of pause for me, that I wasn't able to be myself and then someone was judging me for being myself, right? Because you don't want anyone to change you or kind of switch you up. And I'm a fun guy, right? I'm gonna ride the damn duck. So, the second thing that kind of shocked me and it's a little different than the question you asked is like, at the reunion and, other times where we're talking to people and whatnot, Hannah's note that she wrote after that situation and put beside my bed that was way worse than mine wasn't brought up, right? That was the note that should have been talked about rather than my harmless, pointless note 6 months before the show. And so, where's the accountability? Like, where are we going to kind of realize that, hey, I didn't do anything wrong in that situation. I could have handled it a little bit better. I try to put myself in her shoes, and you kind of see me saying that afterwards. I'm like, look, like I'll try, but me personally coming home to that note, seeing it beside my bed after being with this woman for 1 or 2 days, I'm like, it's kind of weird. Like, right? It's a conversation we could just have, right?
Thing about it is it was the first instance for me where I was like, man, I'm Team Nick. You know what I mean? And it wavered, and that's just the experience. And again, but that's why the conversations like this are more fascinating to me, is because again, this is such a small, we see such a small thing of this entire experiment as you guys are filming a lot. And
All
there's so
angle
many
shots,
different.
right?
Exactly. Everything is edited to a portion of what they want us to see. It's a reality show, it's entertainment. But was there more with what we didn't see between you and Hannah? Because it felt like as a viewer, all you guys did was fight.
Yeah, there were good times for sure. But I think, one thing that put it in perspective for me is like they film a lot. And one of the filmers, camera guys from the show said we only use 4 or 5% of everything we film. So it's not scripted. They don't tell us what to say, but it kind of is in the sense that they kind of create the narrative, right? So we did have a lot of good times, but you know, we weren't always fighting, right? That's what makes the best TV. But it was different than the pods. It was a different feel at least because she was a lot more kind of happy-go-lucky and fun and do your thing, Nick, and supportive. And then watching it back, it's like, damn, like every conversation, it's like she's leaning into me, and that's not what a marriage is supposed to be. Right. And I know for myself, like I have to be 120% sure if I get up to that altar, and I guess we were just mature enough to kind of call it when we did, but we did have good times, right? I think it's just what makes the best TV and what gets you guys going is the fighting and all that good stuff. So
Think to me is one of the most fascinating things about this entire experiment, right? You go from the pods to this mini honeymoon to this home life that you are, 2 weeks prior, you're not living with this person. You're not living with anybody. You know what I mean? You're kind of in this own bubble doing
yeah.
your own thing, but now you're trying to navigate the process, real life, adapting to these to these conversations. What was it kind of like adapting to all of this?
It was tough. I'm not even gonna lie. There's a lot going into each day, each conversation. That's part of the reason why I didn't break up with her. is because each day you learn so much about yourself, this relationship, your other person living together. And it's like, I'm here, right? I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to not take it up to the altar and say no there because I'm not that type of guy. But, I think we ended it 8 days before our wedding. I was willing to test the experiment and make myself uncomfortable and keep learning about myself and this other person. And so every day is changing. And so it's kind of weird. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. Each day is different. Each conversation is different and it moves really quickly. But you just have to trust in yourself and just know that, hey, it's okay if it doesn't work out. We're going to make the best decision for ourselves. And just gave it my all. So I'm super proud that I was genuine and supportive of Hannah even during tough times.
This is one of the more interesting things that I've seen in interviews with Hannah is she says, I don't know why Nick let me treat him that way. What do you say to that?
Oh man, I say to that, she should have thought about her response for a couple more minutes or a couple more hours because that's not the thing to say, right? Like you're playing the victim and you're putting all of your insecurities and problems on me. That's kind of what it sounds like in those interviews. And it's kind of like, hey, I'm trying to justify what I did and how I was treating him. No, had problems that you just portrayed on me. And you'll see me in the reunion and all my interviews. I have nothing bad to say about Hannah. And I think it just kind of goes to show how we're two different people and go about things differently.
Yeah, speaking of the reunion, did you kind of, I mean, as you can see in your face, like were you kind of caught off guard at this kind of full court press to put you in this bubble?
I was. And one thing for the viewers is like we filmed Hannah and I scene a couple of times, right? Like we filmed it, took a break, I sat back down and Nick Lachey's like, all right, well, we're gonna dive back into a conversation we had 30 minutes ago. And I'm like, what? And then turns to Hannah and she's kind of like turns it up a notch and then starts going at me. And so there's definitely like, I feel, some type of not narrative, but some type of story that they kind of wanted to portray. And on the reunion, I say a lot of good things. Talk about myself, a lot of positives, right? It's just unfortunate that all the negatives and the fights continue to be shown because, we were there filming for 5 or 6 hours and the reunion only on Netflix is like a little more than an hour. So there's a lot that's missing. And, it's just unfortunate that it has to go that way. But I'm super proud of myself just for staying solid, staying respectful, staying mature, and just staying myself, man. Because a lot of people would have folded in that situation. So
Yeah, because I mean, looking at it, obviously, first off, the guy code thing is something as a guy can understand. There's certain levels of it. You,
yeah.
you did get tossed right underneath the bus, which I'm sure kind of was like, damn, all right, guys, like, guy code, bro code, whatever you want to call it. Do
Mhm.
you, even if those conversations you were hard pressed, and this is something that I was like, all right, man, like I kind of see a certain point of view. Nick did say certain things. It was a pressure cooker situation. Would do you think if you would have just ripped the band-aid off fast, yeah, I said those things and it could have moved on, would that have been something maybe you would have done maybe just a little bit different at the reunion?
No, because I didn't say some of those things. I did say some of them. I never called her a grenade. I did say to Ramses off camera, when we were just talking man to man, totally, removed from filming, that I was underwhelmed, with Hannah's looks. But everyone was. Every single one of the guys and the women were. And so I know things about everyone else that they've told me. Do you want me to air out your dirty laundry? No. So I think it shows a lot about people's character, um, and how they kind of do under pressure, and kind of the trust factor and talking about those things and my name getting thrown under the bus. And guess what? They can do that. My people, Garrett, Taylor, Ty, Ash, Tim, those are my people. Those are the opinions I care about, right? I didn't talk to Steven once in Mexico, so it's kind of things like that where I'm kind of just like, all right, you could say what you want, but shows a lot about people's character in that moment, being put in that situation and seeing how they act because I'm totally different, and I guess that's why you know I only talk to a couple people and I keep my circle small. So
People that go through the experience understand the experience. So of course you're going to bond with these people. You're going to befriend a lot of these people because these are the only people you can talk to about what you're going through. And
yeah,
I think one of the cool things is the reception of that. We've seen, Garrett and Taylor and some of the other people actually come to your defense on other shows, other interviews, post interview. How has that kind of made you feel as, you wrap up the experiment and the reunion and kind of how it came off?
yeah, I mean, it does feel great, right? Because those are the people that actually care about and value their opinions. And I think, the rest of the world in America kind of values, if Garrett says something or Taylor says something, they're going to listen. And that holds weight. And so that provides some clarity to the situation where, hey, Hannah and maybe her couple girlfriends have their side of things. We have our side of things, right? And so I was just super happy that, they had my back and spoke that highly of me because I think the same way about them. I think the same things about them. I think they're great. So it was cool to see that. And you can see Garrett kind of standing up for me, at the reunion too, saying like, you guys are being immature. Like, let's stop this right now. Because, if you have a normal working brain, you can see that, the conversations and that situation was a little messed up, right?
Obviously, as you go through this experience, you watch Garrett, you watch Tyler, and you see them kind of fulfill that experiment. How kind of cool, as somebody going through this experiment with these guys, you know what I mean? You befriend
Yeah.
them, and you were on the show for quite a while. You know what I mean? You were there a long time. What was it like, kind of seeing them fulfill the quote unquote destiny of Love Is Blind?
It's fascinating because it actually works, right? And that's kind of what a marriage is supposed to look like. That's kind of the way they treat each other. That's what it's supposed to look like. And it looked a little bit different for me. So, I mean, it was just really neat to see the people that I care about actually go through with it, get married, and then still happily married because it does work, right? It doesn't work for everybody, but really cool to see. And I just wish them the best of luck. And I'll be seeing them soon. So, yeah, I always ask them, I'm like, hey, man, any advice for me? My first couple months of marriage, right? Like, because they're in a heightened situation. It's not a normal marriage. Like, they're still kind of in year one or two of their relationship, getting to know each other. So, I'm always asking for them for advice, and I'm always like, look, I want what you have one day. They're super lucky.
What's something that maybe you've seen online? Maybe what's the most misunderstood or um, misunderstood aspect of Nick the person?
Hmm. Um, I'll just kind of think on the go, that I was a bum and I lived in my parents' house and they give me everything and I can't, do anything for myself. Well, it's the complete opposite. Many times Hannah said I wasn't genuine, I wasn't respectful, I wasn't mature, I wasn't financially literate. Well, I have to be financially literate to do my job at a high level. I am mature. You can see the way I was raised and how I go about the whole situation. Socially awareness, that's probably one of my best qualities. And so, there's a lot that's kind of that, she said and she kept saying over and over. And, the more I kind of watch it and hear it, I'm like, well, that's kind of seems like your problem, not mine. And, I'm not a player, I'm not a womanizer, right? I treat everyone with respect, right? Even women, who I'm not even close with. That's just how I was raised, right? I do things the right way. And, yeah, I'm a little flirtatious. Yeah, I like to have some fun. But if that's not for you, then don't date me, So I'm just a really good stand-up guy, and the people who are close to me, I love them, and I'll give the world to them.
What was it like watching the show back? Obviously, because you and audiences aren't, I'm not sure how much audiences understand. You guys watch it back with us. You know what I mean? Like you're watching it
We don't
weekly. You're
know
not getting
anything before it happens. Yeah.
right. So you don't know exactly what's gonna transpire ahead of you being on the show. But what was it like kind of watching it with audiences, with family, talking to family each week? And
Reminiscing a lot of good, a lot of bad times, right? I kind of put it into perspective after watching it, kind of what I went through. And, I've had people like Monica and Marissa, a couple of guys come up to me after they've seen the episodes and be like, dude, I didn't know you were dealing with this, or I didn't know the duck situation wasn't deep and you didn't do anything. And so the whole time I'm filming and afterwards, I'm thinking in my head, like, you know, what I'm kind of confused because I know I just was myself and I was genuine and I kind of did the right things and I treated Hannah well. And then watching it back, it's kind of like, oh, damn, like, she really said that to me, or damn, this situation really happened. And it brings up a lot of emotions, but you have to remember we filmed a year ago, right? So there is like a long kind of year process where, we're removed from those feelings, those situations, those people, and it kind of, just reminiscing. It's more good times than bad for sure. I mean, I've had a lot of fun watching it back and, just keep it light, right? Because it is reality TV. We're here to make you guys smile. So, I've kept that in mind. I've had a lot of fun watching it, man. And, if you ask me to do it again tomorrow, I would say, where the hell do I sign?
What's kind of your favorite memory from your time on the show?
Hmm. One of them was definitely bungee jumping in Cabo. I have a fear of heights, and that, to overcome that bungee jumping with Hannah in that scenario. There's a lot of emotions. I can't really pimp, there's a lot of really fun times as well. A lot of really cool memories. I would just say the thing that I enjoy the most, and looking back on it is, I've grown a lot and I've realized that I had to be open not only with other people and the people I care about, but with myself. And there was a lot I was kind of holding in that would kind of weigh on my mind each day. And I think that process and actually living with someone for the first time and going through that, and it kind of helped me not grow up quick, but realize a lot about myself and qualities that I have to give to a partner and vice versa that I didn't once know. So it was eye-opening in that sense. And, it really, you really do grow, on that show and realize that you got a lot to give to a relationship. Just got to find the right person.
For sure. And I would, going through the experiment kind of helped you, and obviously, not going through it the complete way, it also kind of forms your idea of what you're looking for in a future partner, right?
Yep, exactly. Exactly. You kind of know a couple qualities you're looking for, but I never lived with someone. I never been in that situation. I've never really met parents like that. I've never brought people back to my place, shown her certain things, talked about certain things. So it really does, like, you lay everything out on the table and then you get a lot of time to reflect and be like, okay, I know these three qualities are what I'm looking for. You can add these two or three in, right? So you definitely a lot of learning, but I'm, if you're just yourself, not only on this show but in life, that's all you got to do because it's gotten you to where you're at today and the person you are. So
For sure. All right. Before we go, I like to lay down some quick fire questions, just some
let's do it.
real quick one answers here. All right. So the first one, coffee or tea?
Coffee,
Beer or wine?
wine, red wine.
Is hot dog a sandwich?
No.
All right, you say you're a fan of Love is Blind in the past. You watch 5 seasons, and you cannot mention anybody from this cast. Who's your favorite couple in Love is Blind history?
Oh, I'll probably go. Mm, I'll probably go Kwame and Chelsea.
One reality show you want to be on?
Love Island.
Who will win the Super Bowl?
Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. Give me 1 second. I'm close to this. I'm gonna go Lions over the Ravens, 31-27.
I like it. Is love
Mhm.
really blind?
Man, it's blind in the fact you never know when you're gonna find it. When you're looking for it, you won't have any luck. When you're not, comes up and bites you in the butt and says, "Hey, I'm here. It's time."
All right, final question. It's a fun one. Would you ride the duck again?
Is that a question? I just need to have a better plus one with me on that date who'll ride it with me, so I don't get approached by, someone else, who's staying at the resort 100 times out of 100, man.
For
The
sure.
real question, I got one for you.
Yes.
Would you ride the duck with me?
Oh, 100%. Let's go.
All right, man. I'm booking the tickets to Cabo.
I'm, we're racing, baby. Let's go. I mean,
Yeah,
we're getting up
exactly.
every morning and doing it just because, you know what I mean? It's
And,
every, it's the first, we get coffee and then or maybe we ride the ducks to get coffee.
well, we could get coffee, have a couple beers, and then ride the ducks. Does that sound good to
Exactly. All before 10 a.m., baby. Let's go.
Hey man, I'm always down for it. Nah, I know you are too.
For sure, man.